Sound check. Check the sound. Sound check. Sound check. Come on, baby.
Sound check.
Whoa. I got sound.
Check the sound.
I got sound. I got sound.
Check. Sound check.
Whoa. I got sound.
Check the sound.
I got sound. I got sound.
Check. Sound.
Oh, sorry about that, everybody. Sorry about that. Wow. Hey, we didn't get to talk MMA yesterday. We were talking what to do with your winnings. We were talking watches, and might as well, yeah, let's do a little watch check. I think I've put this out there before. Today I got the Seiko 5, very similar to the other watch I have, the Orient, but this is a different bezel, as you can see here, different casement and bezel. It's different type. It's also an auto, and I left it on its original chain. Of course, this is an SNKL. I bought this one on a whim, primarily because it was on sale. This is another one that was under $100. So I got this one. I kept it on its original bracelet or the band. I think it just looks good on it. I might change it up and get an interchangeable bracelet, but you know, yeah. So it's a nice watch, a little bit smaller. It's got a lot more weight to it than the Orient. It has some illumination, but the illumination is also not that good on it, as good as some of the other Seikos. But the price, it was just tough. I initially was going to make this my work watch, but then the lume wasn't that good. And for what I paid for it, under $100, you can see the lume indices right there, those little dots. And then on the arms there, or the hour arms, you could see that there's a very faint illumination there. It just doesn't work very well, but it is still a fantastic movement. It feels nice on the wrist, right? So I still enjoyed it. So I kept it. And so beer today, guys, we have the new Lagunitas Woodshop series, the Willettized Coffee Stout aged in rye oak barrels. This is like their limited edition stuff for 2022. Goose Island also came out with something like that, like this, that it's even more premium. I just saw this and I was like, well, it is limited. I would go out and get it right now if you're interested in it. And I'm going to pair that with this Macanudo Inspirado. The Inspirado line, it is a Connecticut shade cigar, but it's a Nicaraguan or a Honduran Connecticut shade. It's no longer made here in the States, nor in Jamaica. A long time the Macanudo line was made in Jamaica, and I believe they are based out of the Dominican Republic now, but like all these other manufacturers, they're using Nicaraguan, Honduran, just blends of tobacco wherever they can get it. So I've never had one of these Macanudo Inspirados. A lot of people are well familiar. Again, yesterday I did the Patron. A lot of people are familiar with the Macanudo line, so I might as well cover something that you guys can easily access, right? This is, different than their cafe line. It should have, the cafe line is more of the Macanudo that you are probably have seen more and more people are familiar with, and it has the green sort of in the band as well as some color to the band in it. So that's the difference here. Is this is it has some Mexican filler. I believe it has some Nicaraguan filler. I don't know if they're using Cameroon filler. If they are, that's still good. They used to. And I know they always used to use a Mexican binder, but it's no longer Jamaican. There is no longer Jamaican filler in here, which is interesting. So I'm going to pair, with the contrast of this Willamette Stout with something that's going to be a little softer, possibly on the palate. So we'll check that on out. Let me get my watch back on over here. Actually, I can put it down. All right, welcome, Bout Betters. What's up, folks? Good time talking to people yesterday, although I didn't have many fans. So it was really just talking to a crowd of one. But in all instances, it's still good that we were talking. I'm looking like shit, although I got a haircut today. Watch back on the wrist. Again, I could switch out this band, and I kept the stainless steel. People talk about affordable watches or trophy watches or homage watches, and the problem of like, well, hey, if you had just saved and not bought 5 or 6 of those $100 to $200 watches, you could actually get a good watch. You could then get a Hamilton, Philippe Constantin or Constant, or maybe maybe even a better Seiko or Grand Seiko as opposed to some of these lower end Seikos, or a nice Citizen, or even a Casio, a higher end Casio, or a vintage, like most people, if you had a few $1,000s and you wanted to get into the higher end luxury brand market, there's some vintage Rolex watches that these are based off of, that you could spend $1,500 to $3,000 in obtaining those. And what I would say is, like, well, I enjoy these. Really, it's just a matter of what you like. I'm comfortable with these. I love the movements. I love the skeletal back. I don't need them as trophies. I like having them. They still represent class and elegance to me. Even if it doesn't have that high price tag, to me, they still are emblematic of taste and distinction. I don't view them as fakes, or trying to imitate, or that I'm trying to fool myself or think of myself into something. Really, rather than own that one, $1,200 Rolex, I can buy basically the whole series of this S and K line and have, I believe it's something like 12 or 13 watches, right, that are all in that $100 to $200 range. This one was only, I think I paid only $79 for. I mean, for an automatic watch of this quality, in my opinion, you could go and you could spend $100 on a Paganini design. You could spend $100 also on an Invicta, or even, a Casio or a Timex. And I do have those watches. I have a Timex Waterbury collection, which I think are really, really nice watches. And I paid $69 for one of those. And then I have another Waterbury, 2 Waterburys. And the other one is on sale right now for only like $79. And I paid $119 for it. And both those are both quartz watches. Not horrible watches. They're actually really good looking watches. I put them on aftermarket bands, and I've shown them to you here before, and those are excellent watches. They look really good. I'm comfortable with it. People do still notice them, and it goes back to what it is that you're enjoying. If you want to buy a $39 watch that looks like a Jacob and Company design, or those fancy wheels, not Raymond Ville, but they have Raymond Ville watches, but the Mille watches, right? It's something that if you're comfortable with it, you like the way it looks, and people like it as well, and whether you tell them that it's a fake or that it's not what it's supposed to be or what it's based off, it doesn't matter. As long as it looks good on what you're wearing, you feel comfortable with it, you enjoy it. You're not going to get, it's not going to be an investment. A lot of these, they're like jewelry. Very few of them. There are even very few of those Jacob and Company watches. Not all Rolexes gain value, right? In fact, it's quite the opposite. Most luxury watches lose value, just like an automobile. The moment you put it on your wrist, the moment you buy it out of a shop, even if you keep it in the box with the papers, with the stickers, not all of them are going to retain the same value as some others. The exclusivity, the manufacturing time, there are other factors in terms of popularity, the design run. I think that's why a lot of those fancier watches are worth what they are, because they're like limited to 100 or 200 series. They're not mass produced still like an Omega and some Rolex watches, but even those Rolex watches have a set limit of what their runs are. But again, I don't think there's anything wrong with buying an inexpensive watch, whatever that makes you happy. And I have a Casio that I spent $19 for. I have another one that I have a $10 Casio. A $10 Casio that I wear. Here it is. So I bought this erroneously on mistake that I couldn't return it. This was only, I had a little coupon. They were selling for like 14 bucks. I got it for $10. I thought that the numbers had lumination on them, and it has a 24-hour marker on the inside of that. I don't know if you could see that really well. And this watch was only 10 bucks. This is a Casio here. Let me see if I can get it better in the light. Right, that's a $10 Casio right there. Right, there's nothing wrong with this watch. It's durable, it's light, it's water resistance to, I believe, 50 meters, right? That's deeper than I'm going to go. I'm not going to use this as a dive watch. This was 10 bucks. It still looks good when I'm at work. People like have complimented me on it, thinking that it was like one of the other expensive watches that I have. The band is super, super cheap. But there is nothing wrong with wearing this watch for when it has its purpose. And at work, it could always be with me at work. This is probably something that I might surf with, or I'd even skateboard with. I'll skate with this, and if it falls and hits the ground, I won't give a shit. You know what I mean? I'll skate with this shit. I'll skate with my $100 Seiko. I'll skate with this. I won't surf with it. I won't surf with watches with colors or with the silver on there, steel. I wouldn't even dive with silver or these blues and colors. I think that's really stupid to do. That sort of, it looks like a fish. Like when it reflects in the water, this silver and that blue is gonna, or even green or whatever it is, a shark or some other thing's gonna pick that thing up, and to me it's sort of like a beacon to be eaten. So I wouldn't wear these and those diver watches that all those people have. I wouldn't wear those diver watches. I would get a black diver watch like this, or black, black rubber and black face that had a good illumination, but not anything too illuminated, right? So that it's not like reflecting and giving off that fish vibe or fish look to the sharks. So $10. Can't beat it. Doesn't hurt anyone. Let me pop out the chat here. I don't know if anybody's in the chat. Welcome. No, it doesn't look like anybody's in there. Oh. They'll find a girl for me. I got a scammer. All right, awesome, no problem. 69 mega, appreciate it. Hope you can find a girl for me. I really appreciate that. You keep that up for me. So yeah, going back to that, it's really not just what you can afford. Sure, if you want to save up to buy that expensive Omega, your Breitling, your Patek Philippe, you want your AD, your AP, you want to try to save money, or your Rolex, go on ahead. What I would suggest though is like when I was in the cigar business and fine cigar business, it was all a matter of trust. Find somebody that you trust, or go to an authorized dealer that is going to provide you with all the paperwork, the box, all the original information. They're an authorized dealer or through a large dealer. For example, here in Chicago, I know that for Hamilton's, surprisingly, you go to ABT, which is like the electronics and home goods store, and there is a Hamilton store that's in there. And I bet all the Omegas and some of the used Rolexes and some of the other watches that they sell are legit as well, because the owner is a big watch guy. Man, this stout looks really, really milky. There's also another, for Cartier, if you want to get a Cartier, go to the Cartier store. You don't have to go to your jeweler. You could actually get that at the retailer. I like Cartier watches. I also like Mont Blanc watches, or some of the other folks that aren't just pure watchmakers. A lot of those are made by the same manufacturer, and they are switch watches, and they're like, for example, Mont Blanc, Patek Philippe, Dunhill, I believe a few others are basically the same movement, the same watch, just like even Seiko. The Seiko watches and even these Chinese watches have Japanese movements that are manufactured in Japan, that are sent to China and assembled in China, which helps the price. And even some Seikos themselves, like I believe this is that instance. Like this is a non-Japanese Seiko. It has the Japanese movement, but there are probably other parts of it that are made in China, and it's assembled in China and or the Philippines, but it has the Japanese movement on it. It's no longer made in Japan. To get the Japanese made ones, you have to get those. Those are specified. So usually it takes a little bit longer. You're usually ordering it from Japan, either through AliExpress or even on Amazon. You'll see that the seller is based out of Japan, And so it'll take a long time. You can still get them through Prime, and it's a Japanese watch. So hopefully I get, I got the girl coming. We're gonna go watch her bowling today. I was thinking, about the fights that are coming up. Kevin Gastelum versus Nasruddin Imavov. Man, that's a tough outing for Kevin Gastelum. Imavov is on a tear right now. The guy is surging. He's pretty much where Gastelum was years ago, where he's on the up. He's beat some established fighters, beat them bad. He's got incredible stand-up, really, really good, just solid kickboxing, very active striker. And Kevin Gastelum, of late, is also a good striker, but he's just one of those people that's just fallen in love with his hands, doesn't utilize his grappling as much anymore. And he had pretty good wrestling when he first started. He really did. He's fallen in love with his hands because his hands have been effective. I mean, he's got knockout wins. Here, let's see. He's got some knockout wins over. His last win is against Ian Heinisch, and that was by unanimous decision. He's lost his last 3 of 4, which is not good. In fact, he's lost his last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of 5. I mean, 5 of 6 he's lost, which is not good. He knocked out Michael Bisping. Man, he knocked out Tim Kennedy, which is a good win. He's lost to Neil Magny by decision. He knocked out Nate Marquardt. He submitted Jake Ellenberger back in the day. Had another, he's fought sort of a who's who. He's beat Uriah Hall. The no contest. I thought he knocked out Victor Belfort. I think it was because then he had he was on the juice, wasn't he? He got some kind of suspension for steroids. So he lost to Israel Adesanya. He was in that was a championship fight, but he went the distance with them. He lost to Darren Till by decision, but it looks like that was a very close fight where it could have went either way. He lost to Jack Hermanson. That was embarrassing. He tapped so fast by heel hook. 118 up, 1 minute, 18 seconds into the first round. He lost to Robert Whittaker by decision. He lost to Jared Cannonier by decision. And each of those, except for Robert Whittaker took him down, controlled him, beat the living pulp out of him. But he's held in there in the fight. So I'm pretty certain that Kevin Gastelum is the dog in this. Am I going to side with the dog? I don't think so. I think both of these guys just don't have the best defensive striking. But Kevin Gastelum's even worse. Kevin Gastelum will take one, take one to try to give one, or give out 2, or take throw a combination to maybe land 1. And Nasruddin is sort of that way as well, but Nasruddin, I think, is the cleaner striker. He's more busy, he has the better striking accuracy at 54%. He absorbs less than him. He has the 62% striking defense compared to Kevin Gastelum's 57%. On the grappling, Kelvin is by far a better grappler, but he just, Nasruddin Imavov has a fantastic takedown defense at 76% with submissions of his own. And Kelvin Gastelum has his takedown accuracy, even though he's a wrestler, is 32%. And that's because he really hasn't been utilizing his wrestling until it's too late. If Kevin Gastelum were smart, and rather than go in there and try to throw trade for trade and get into this technical brawl or a technical matchup with Imavov, if I were him, I would go in there and just start to grapple right away. We've seen Chimaev be effective at that. Some of these other fighters as well, they go in there and they do what they're best at. Saeed Yakub the other day, he same thing. I'm going to strike for 2 seconds and then right away I'm going to start wrestling. And if Kevin Gastelum could do that while he's fresh, get some of the legs, take some of the gas out of Nasruddin Imavov, he'll more than have a chance both on the feet and on the ground. He really will have an opportunity to do some damage, wear him down, and win this fight, possibly by decision. But I'm just going to side because of Kelvin's lack of trading or mixing it up, his willingness to trade. I think Nasruddin is going to finish him, and I think it's going to be early. I think Nasruddin Imavov is going to get a round 1 KO because Kelvin's just going to, get engaged in that sort of street fight. And Nasruddin Imavov has legitimate hands, legitimate power. I think he's going to get the knockout here. He's got, Edmund Shabazian's got a knockout over him. Ian Heinisch is a knockout, and then the other, he was more of a decision against Phil Hawes, who wrestled him, right? Wrestled Imavov, and Jordan Williams a decision as well. But Imavov destroyed him on the feet. In that fight where he lost to Phil Hawes, Phil Hawes had only, threw fewer strikes than Imavov. Imavov almost landed more. That's very similar. But Phil Hawes had 4 of 7 takedowns for 11 minutes of control. So, and the problem is, Gastelum is not going to follow that blueprint. He's fallen in love with his hands. He's going to throw hands, and it's going to be a mistake. I think Imavov's striking has gotten even better. I think that this while it could go to a decision, I think that chin of, because Gastelum's has the more experience. He's been in some wars. I think that it's time for him. He's past his prime to an extent, even though he's young or at the same age. Yeah, he's actually younger. Oh no, he's 4 years older than Imavov. So he's still a young guy. He's just been engaged in he's got far more experience. He's been engaged in a lot more fights. I mean, including his since the not Contender Series, but the Ultimate Fighter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 appearances in the UFC compared to Imavov's 7. So 3 times the experience, but that experience doesn't do anything if you're not going in there with a game plan and you're only utilizing half of what your skill set is. And I think that is what Gastelum's been doing. So I'm going to lean on Imavov. I think Imavov gets the finish. I think even though as tough as Gastelum is, I'm going to say Imavov by a finish. And maybe even, Imavov was only like minus 150. I don't know what it is right now. I could take a look or someone could mention it for me. Let's get to the cigar. A little nuttiness, which is good. That's to be expected from the Connecticut. It's a different sort of soft earth tone. It's different. It's more of nuts, like a hazelnut or walnut, or like walnut or hazelnut. Woo! That's one strong beer. Oh yeah. Woo! That's like taking a shot of whiskey there, guys. Whoa. In rye oak barrels, man. It's 13% by 13.1% alcohol. Whoa. When I took that, it's like taking a shot. It's like taking a shot of whiskey. Woo! I'm serious. It packs a punch. No joke. That is not that's a sipping beer. It still has that nice stout, a little bit of chocolate. I like it. It has a little taste of malt. In Puerto Rico, we have something called Malta. It's a malt beverage that's non-alcoholic. This is like that, but with alcohol. So it's tasty. It's good. I enjoy it. I think this would be interesting, possibly to pair with a little ice cream. You pour it on the side of it, believe it or not, like or a cake, like you bake with this, or use it in with a little flan, or some soft cake. You could almost use this as a liqueur. I'm serious. It tastes like a liqueur. That's what I guess I'm trying to aim at. It's like it tastes as a body, of a liqueur, right? It has a beer stout to it still. Nice. The flavors are there. Like, okay, so basically you have to sip it. I'm used to gulping, and when you gulp it, you're gonna get like that shot experience, like you're taking a shot of rye or a shot of whiskey, right? If you gulp it, you're going to ingest a lot more of the alcohol. It's going to affect it differently where it activates, and you're going to get that bad sort of harsh booze, that alcohol sort of finish. Whereas if you sip it, you really can taste the creaminess. You get hints of the coffee, the chocolate, and then that nice little malt, that little creamy finish that's there. It's there, right? The finish is softer when you take that little sip. You can't. This is that William. You can't. This stuff these that are aged in these oak barrels or rye barrels, whiskey barrels. You can't chug them as I normally do, and prefer to do that. So that's something that is a no-go. All right, everyone wants to talk about this, or there's little to talk about. Shavkat Rakhmonov, is he the real deal? Yes. Jeff Neal on a tear. I mean, wins, destroyed Vicente Luque, destroyed Ponzinibbio, has lost to Magny and Thompson. Thompson exposed him, I thought. I was really thinking that even Magny would beat him out, considering what Josh Thompson did to him. Jeff Neal's also beat Bilal Muhammad in a unanimous decision, right? He had two knockdowns. He's got power. Jeff Neal could knock out anyone. The guy's really super strong. Brian Camozzi, sub Brian Camozzi, when Brian Camozzi was going out, he knocked out Nico Price, knocked out Mike Perry. Those are tough guys, tough dudes that could really take it. He knocked them out. He got obliterated, 171 significant strikes for Stephen Thompson against Neal. Neal just obliterated his legs, just tons of leg kicks, beat the living pulp out of him. And Neil Magny utilized, I guess, a little wrestling on Jeff Neal. Not great. I mean, it wasn't like he had a lot of control time with his takedowns. And in fact, Jeff Neal took him down. It was just that Neil Magny was very active. And when you look at all these fights, one thing that really stands out to me is one thing that Shavkat, that besides the matching him in the power, Shavkat could wrestle. And he doesn't have none of these guys, Perry, Price, other than Bilal Muhammad, right? He beat Bilal Muhammad, but I think that even Shavkat's wrestling, he's a bigger guy for the division, much larger than Bilal. He's up there for the championship, and I think he's somebody that him and Khamzat are going to meet eventually. That's going to be an incredible fight for a championship or for a number one contendership. Right now, the UFC is definitely keeping them apart. I think that could possibly happen. I think either one of these guys wins. I think that might line up a fight with Khamzat. And it sucks that we'd have to see that, but no one's going to want to fight either of these guys. They're not going to want, Jeff Neal's a man for taking it. A lot of people don't want to fight Jeff Neal right now. He, like I said, his wins over Vicente Luque knocked him out. He destroyed Vicente Luque. And a decision over Ponzi, which was a close fight. But I think, I still think that it could win either way, that fight. Jeff Neal did win. In these fights, guys, if it's close, you leave it to the judges. You can't expect the victory, right? We see what's happening. The collusion or the what's happening with all the commentators getting their 2 cents in, judges deciding what they're wanting to do. It's a shit show. So get a finish in a fight, street fight or a fight. You don't want to fight to get the hell out of there, but you don't want to fight for a decision. You're not fighting for sport. You're fighting to end this, to get in there, to win, and to get home with the least amount of damage and safely as possible. And usually that entails a finish. You finish a guy in the first round, you're not taking a lot of damage, you're putting out the damage, and you're winning the fight, and you don't have to worry about what someone like Roberto and all these other people, these pundits, say how it should have been or what's going on. You go in there, you just finish the guy, and you're going to be good. So this is the Inspirado. I think it's going to be a good contrast. I got something that's going to, rather than go chocolate with chocolate, and I've never had the white label, so I wanted to go back to some old staple, cigar that you guys might be familiar with, or at least the brand that you might be familiar with. and then go with that and see, you guys could get this. Again, mention in the comment section if you've had any of the beer or the cigars that I've had. I'd appreciate some feedback that hey, I liked it or I disagreed with you on this one. I'll tell you what though, the cigars, all the cigars that I put on this show, with the exception of one, and then the one I didn't try, have been superb. There hasn't been a real bad cigar in the bunch. Maybe like one out of all the reviews I did were the cigar I wasn't happy with, but most all of these cigars are premium. Can't go wrong with any of these smokes, guys. So yeah, I think that Rachmaninoff is going to be able to take Jeff Neal down. He's going to be able to implement his ground and pound and his control. He's going to be happy doing that. I don't know if he's going to be able to finish Jeff Neal. He possibly can, but I think he's just going to rinse and repeat the takedown. Even though Jeff Neal has superb takedown defense, I think that Rachmaninoff is going to be able to take him down. He's not necessarily going to be looking for the submission, and it's going to be hard for Rachmaninoff to keep Jeff Neal down, because let's see here, because 85% takedown defense. So I think it's going to be hard for Rachmaninoff. He is going to get him down. It's just going to be hard to keep him down. So he's going to mix it up, and that even him mixing it up is going to be enough to keep Neal on his toes, and is going to allow for Rachmaninoff to land when he's on the feet and then mix it up and really frustrate Jeff Neal, get this to the ground, wear Jeff Neal out, wear those muscles out. And I think, I don't know if Rachmaninoff finishes Neal. I think that this might go the distance. I think Rachmaninoff is going to have, Jeff Neal's doing a lot better. Rachmaninoff might have a harder time finishing. Yeah, nice and toasty, real soft, lots of nut, lots of like hazelnut, very nice, perfect for with this a little spiciness to it. It still has that like spiciness to it. I wonder it's because they still use some Mexican filler in the Mexican binder. That Mexican tobacco is really, from my experience, what adds to the pepperiness or the spiciness of the cigar, and it still has that. Yes, the butteriness, soft, a little heavier than the traditional Macanudos, and a little spicier, right? So maybe a beginner wouldn't enjoy this because of the pepperiness and the spiciness, but the beginner would like how soft it is initially, right? It's soft on the nose. It has that nice butteriness to it. I like it. It's not. I prefer the even milder Connecticut Shade cigars. When I get a Connecticut Shade, I don't want the pepperiness in it. I want all the creaminess, the butteriness, that toasted nut sort of character, but without the pepper or without the spice. That's just me. Over time, it could probably get there. I think it's also because this is like that Ecuadorian or Nicaraguan Connecticut wrapper. Yeah, toast. Yeah, really nice, toasty nut character. I want the butteriness. I miss like my Dunhills. That's why I prefer Dunhills, Connecticut, that have that butterscotch sort of character to them. This sort of has it, but the pepperiness is overpowering it. Like the pepperiness is overpowering that buttery character. It's taking away from the nuts. It's still good. Yeah, it's getting better there. It's getting a little better there. Once that pepperiness dissipates, I'm tasting the creaminess there that I enjoy in the Connecticut, that butteriness that I enjoy in the Connecticut. I look for that more of a walnut, pistachio, hazelnut, more of a characteristic. Preferably the pistachio is what I would aim for or want to get in a cigar. This has more of that walnut because it's a little more toast to it, a little more rawness. It doesn't have that same just buttery character to it. You know, I like the pistachio that has the greenery or the hazelnut. Right, this has more of that walnut characteristic. That it's still a little toasty. It's smooth and creamy, but it's not. It still has that toasted or that cooked sort of aspect to it. So give me Rachmaninoff by decision on that fight. The line is ridiculous. No point of putting Rachmaninoff in a parlay. I think if anything, you go dog or pass on that one. Although I think it's a tough out for Jeff Neal as a dog on that one. Punalehe Soriano versus Roman Kopilov. I was a Punalehe fan. I've been a Punalehe fan. I have won money on my last outing with Roman Kopilov. I cannot believe that he lost to both Robertson and Durev. But the good thing here is that Punalehe is not going to wrestle him. So Roman Kopilov is a master of sport. He is a very, very good kickboxer that is young, that really needs to work, should have been working on his wrestling and his takedown defense, and because that's his main weakness. And, you know, Punalehe here, 31% takedown defense, and his takedown accuracy is 57%. He's not very good at wrestling. He's going to stand and bang with Kopilov, and I think that's going to cost him. I think Punalehe here is going to lose on points. I think Kopilov's going to take rounds with him. He's got great movement, good hand strikes. The way to beat Roman Kopilov is to take him down. You're not going to beat him in a kickboxing match. Punalehe, it just doesn't have the output any longer. You know, on paper he does at 3.95. He's got better accuracy. He absorbs less strikes, but he has worse striking defense. And he has a slight grappling advantage, but Kopilov's takedown defense is actually better. I think that Punalehe, I'm a big fan of his. I know that he trains really well with Chris Curtis and a lot of those guys at Extreme Couture. But I think this is going to be a kickboxing match where Roman Kopilov has better kicking. He's going to be able to unleash his kicking a lot more that he doesn't now because he's not facing a wrestler or somebody that's going to try to wrestle him. So I think that Kopilov's going to take this easily by points. He's going to wear down Soriano. He's going to kick the living shit out of him in terms of his lower body and then set up a strike to possibly finish Punalehe. But I think it's going to go decision, and I'm leaning towards Roman Kopilov by decision. And it's something I might cover on the money line, but I'm not completely interested in. This is a very interesting bout between Damon Jackson and Dan Ige. I'm on the Jackson train for a while, and I was on Ige the train for a while. What's going to be interesting about this is that Damon Jackson is a highly underrated grappler, right? The guy has great submission abilities. I mean, he beat Sabatini his last outing, where I was on Pat Sabatini by far. I mean, he knocked him out. He destroyed him. I mean, lost to Ilya Tupuria, got knocked out by Ilya Tupuria, lost in a draw. There was no contest. He got lost by a bulldog choke against Damon Jackson some time ago, but he's won, 4 of his last 5 fights. Since that Tupuria, that was his last loss. He beat Charles Rosa, he beat Kamala Kirk, he beat Dan Argueta and Pat Sabatini. I think it's going to be an even money match. So that's good. I think that this is going to be a good match to bet on because it could go either way. I would say that if you get either guy at significant dog money, and if that pops up, to jump on that dog, right? I think it's a 50-50 match. Where I'm leaning slightly on Ige. I'm leaning on Ige being, in this instance, even though Damon Jackson's a good wrestler, I think Ige might have the better MMA wrestling here. He has better control. I think Damon Jackson has the better submission abilities. But I look for Ige, Damon Jackson to be comfortable wrestling and Ige getting those takedowns, right? And I think Ige's fought like the better fighters. He's coming, man, off of 3 straight losses, which is not good. But if you look at he's faced, Josh Emmett, who's fighting for the title, Mosavar Ivalov, who's like one of the top best up-and-coming fighters in the UFC, and Chang Sung Jung, he went to the decisions against all of those, and then he beat Kevin Tucker by a TKO, lost to Kelvin Kattar by unanimous decision. That was a close match, and I think Kelvin took it handily. He has wins over Barbosa, Marcin Bektik, Kevin Aguilar. Anybody else of significance? Not really. Those fights, his last 3 were just tough fights. Like 2 guys that could be potentially champions, and then a previous other champion in Chan Sung Jung, so or at least contenders. So he's fought the better competition. I don't think that he's gone. Jackson's going to have a good height and reach advantage. Ige's a little younger. Man, this is a really tough bout to score here. I think Ige has the better hands. It's going to be hard for him to reach Damon Jackson, but Damon Jackson is there to be hit. And I think Ige is just really, really tough and might have the better offensive wrestling, and Damon Jackson might be too comfortable trying to fight off his back and trying to look for sweeps and get on top position. This is a fight that whoever gets the takedowns and remains in top position is going to win. Sounds simple, and I think Ige has that ability, and I think Ige has the better accuracy in the hands, and he does, like a supposedly 45% accuracy compared to 41. They both absorb a lot of strikes, but Ige's striking defense is slightly better, and I think that's going to help him. It's going to be who's able to take down, whose cardio survives, and both these guys can go. I think Damon Jackson gasses more as the fight goes on in that 3rd round, and I think that's where Ige is going to possibly squeak this out. He's going to still be going hard in that 3rd round. I think he's going to be getting the takedowns in that 3rd round, but I could be wrong. It is definitely a 50-50. I hope that it's a coin flip bet on this one. I might live bet it, wait to see who I see is doing a little bit better in the wrestling initially, and then bet at that time on the money line. See, if I could get a good number right away. Like I wouldn't wait too long if they offer me something on plus money on either way on who I think is going to be wrestling better in that 1st round, about being more effective, even in the striking, like implementing what the game plan should be, is probably what I will bet. So I may wait to live bet this one, yeah, but I'm leaning slightly on Dan Ige. I think that he is just the cleaner of the 2, even though he's on the losing streak. But Damon Jackson's hot right now. The guy's motivated, well skilled. This is going to be a great fight. Looking forward to it. I'm hoping that it's even money, and I believe it is. Charles Johnson, Zulugas Zumagulov. Man, Zumagulov is one tough guy. Charles Johnson, yeah, tough as well. Yeah, it was a close fight last time. So rematch, huh? It went to a split decision. And it was a close one. I thought Charles Johnson won that. I mean, there's a four strike number. I'm really surprised these guys are fighting each other again. It's another one of these fights that probably um, is a 50-50 match. I'm going to avoid this one. I don't think there's any point in betting it. Zumagulov, has some skills. He's coming off three straight losses. Manel Kopp knocked him out. I remember that, right? Manel Kopp knocked his ass out. Yeah, punches in round one. Jeff Molina, outpieced him up. Zumagulov had a couple takedowns. How much control time did he have? Yeah, Zumagulov had 5 minutes control time. If he could actually get a takedown against Charles Johnson and keep him down, because last time he only kept him down in one takedown, and so he wasn't that great for only 1 minute control. Johnson himself's a decent wrestler as well. Again, another 50-50 match where I might wait to live bet it, but I would avoid it either way, unless you feel you're getting a good number on one or the other fighters. On these rematches, I tend to always go with the person that won before. I would lean slightly on Charles Johnson, but I'm not going to bet it until the card is, or until there's other opportunities. Because in this particular card right now, depending on where Kopylov is, I might bet Kopylov, and depending on where Imavov is, I might bet Imavov, and I might even parlay those two. Those right now I might be putting in a parlay because I think they're going to both be favorites. I got to slow my smoking down on this too. Now the pepperiness is gone. I like that. The pepperiness was at the start. It's smoothed out. I'm taking big draws, and I don't really need to because this is a nice fat cigar. This is like a 53, 54 gauge. Love it. This was only $7. It's mild, full to mild bodied. It's really good. You get a lot of smoke on it. It's great construction. You got a good draw. The roll is looking really good there. Nice. Nice. And like the beer, you got to sip it. So for the money and for what the cigar is, we're going back to value, right? We've had a lot of cigars here where the price point was a little higher. Most of the cigars I think I've been doing on the show have been in that $9 range. I think I've had a couple other ones that were $7 on sale, but they're more in that $9 to $10 range. This big puppy here was only $7.13, so it's a value. To get a big cigar of a quality tobacco from a quality manufacturer, quality brand like Macanudo for $7, that's a deal all day, right? So if you're on a budget and you want to smoke a big cigar that has good flavor, that's nice and mild, that's going to be unoffensive, you're going to be able to smoke with and eat with anything, drink with anything, this might be the cigar for you. So I'm going to give this cigar initially an 8 right now. It's going to get better, but maybe an 8.25. 8.25, just because the flavors aren't super pronounced, right? So somebody with a novice palate, it's not well defined, right? You're going to have to be a lot more familiar with cigars to get and understand like the notes on this particular cigar. I shouldn't say that. Yeah, Nice, that little soft butterscotchiness is there. It's just not as sweet. Doesn't have that sweet hazelnut edge that I wanted, but it's there, right? This is definitely a good cigar to sit and age on, to see how the flavors and all the blend itself marries over time, to see if it becomes more accentuated and even gets better, what the potential is in this cigar. I think it's there. It's interesting because it's still got, I believe it's got Dominican, Mexican, no more Jamaican filler, and it's probably the Mexican binder still, and that Ecuadorian Connecticut, so they're saving money, they're no longer in Jamaica. I wonder, like, if the blend would hold up. But, for the money, $7 all day, guys. Like, this is unoffensive, a lot better than the cigar I had in Cabo. That was like a Connecticut shade cigar that was in the same price range, that wasn't defined, had very little flavors, it was bland. That was one of the worst cigars I think that we reviewed. Even though it wasn't horrible, it just wasn't really on par of what we have been smoking and what I've reviewed on. And for the money, you want to avoid that one, because you could get something like this that's going to give you still great flavors, and over time, if you wanted to buy a few of them and sit on them, it's still going to be pretty good. Another thing I'm going to start to do this year, if I gamble again, which I've considered stopping gambling, is flipping my winnings into cigars. Like, I enjoy cigars. I'm doing these things with you. It'd be nice to have a stash of all the cigars that I have reviewed with you that I could then share with friends when we get together and be like, oh, they've seen the review, or they could review it beforehand, and then know what we're getting into, or they could ask me, hey, oh, you reviewed that, that Alec and Bradley Kunitskuya. I want one of those, and I'll have it, right? I'll have it on hand. And I need to do that, to go back into my history and buy a few of the cigars that I have had, that I say that are keepers, that are buyers, and I should have bought them a while ago and bought them in quantities, but get the humidor going and put these into the humidor and have them there. So when you meet me, or if I want to bring some cigars over to a camping outing, or to a casino night or something like that, I'll have a few of these smokes to give to people out there, or share with them. I did wear this to work a couple times. I don't see any noticeable scratches, but I'm definitely not going to bring these dress watches anymore to work. I'm buying a nice field watch, I got 2 watches that are in that $200 range that I'm purchasing specifically for work. And if they get damaged, they're $200. If they start to become a little disheveled, that's okay. They get a little character. I could have them serviced. I might get a polisher myself and start to polish. I have a couple of old watches and old watch bands that are definitely in need of servicing. And rather than pay the $200 or almost the value of the watch to have them serviced, I might service them myself. I might polish them and take care of that myself, but we're going to see. Yeah, that's the next event coming up. Other than that, oh no, they don't have. Oh yeah, they have. Everyone's probably this card is filled out even more. Texeira versus Hill, the Brazilian card. Is there should be there is a Brazilian parlay here, for sure, with Gregory Rodriguez right out the bat. How can you bet against Gregory Rodriguez? The guy's a monster, right? Jessica Andrade is going to destroy Lauren Murphy. She's gonna knock Lauren Murphy out. All these Brazilians in there. There's gotta be Jalton Almeida again. Is gonna do whatever he wants to do. Shamil Hurakunwolf. Terrence McKinney against Bonfim. Is that one of the brothers? Nicholas Dalby versus Wally Alves. That's going to be a good fight. José Nunez, is that the little girl that's super like small that she should be in the atomweight division? A very aggressive little bald girl against Sarah Fahim. Like José Nunez is a bad little woman. She is brutal. Paul Craig, Johnny Walker, man, I'm looking forward to that. You know, Johnny Walker got a sub his last time out, but guess what, man? You're facing Paul Craig. You know, I'm very, very curious what's going to happen there. Everybody knows what I always bet. I always bet that Craig sub, regardless, but that's only going to be like plus 150. Watch, it's going to be like plus 125 for him by sub, which is going to suck. And, you know, how brutal is it of the UFC to give Ihor Potieria against Shogun Rua? When you retire out of the UFC, they do you no favors. They give you like the hardest up-and-comer that's going to make the most out of your name before you get the hell out of there. They just don't do you favors. It's wrong of the UFC. You know, you're in Brazil. You know, Shogun Rua should be fighting somebody, you know, that's ranked way behind him. You know, where he has a better chance of winning. But they give him a monster. It's like, okay, you're retiring, so we're going to give you a beating on the way out. Just so disrespectful. Gilbert Burns, Neil Magny, going to be a very, very good matchup. I think Neil Magny is going to piece up Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns is going to want to try to take this to the ground. Neil Magny is going to just have to just keep his distance, you know, really just use his octagon movement, his octagon awareness, that reach advantage and his height advantage. Be careful on his kicks and keep Gilbert Burns from getting this to the ground. And I think Neil Magny takes that easily. Because Burns is another guy that's fallen in love with his hands. Brandon Moreno, Davison Figueiredo. Why they do this for the fourth time? Is this the fourth time? Or is it just the third? I love their fights. Yes, I can watch them. Yeah, this is their fourth time. Like it's you know, it's just gotta finish, right? Yeah, I know that they were looking for, this is like The Duel. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the movie The Duel, where these two French, it's a Ridley Scott movie where these two French soldiers fight, I believe it's like 5 times over 4 decades. And they fight like the guy's a grandfather. At the end of the movie, they have families, one guy's a grandfather, and yet they're still fighting over honor that is just sort of ridiculous. But it was a different period, it was a different time. It was based off of a true story of these two French generals, these two French warriors, soldiers that during that period, dueling was very common. In fact, they had to outlaw dueling because the French soldiers were killing each other. Like they would have the best French soldiers fighting each other in these duels against other Frenchmen and killing each other when they needed them to fight the Spaniards or the Prussians or, you know, these other like armies. Rather than kill, they would finish killing their enemies, their nationalistic enemies, political enemies, and then fight each other over these stupid principles and things of honor. Like they literally established a contract to fight whenever they were within 100 meters of each other or something like that. So whenever they were in near contact, these guys would fight with swords, sabers, guns. Like it was no joke. These guys were like really serious about like, I don't like you. Anytime we're near each other, we're gonna brawl. Doesn't matter. And it's a fantastic movie. It's actually a good historical. If you go and do the background history of the story, it's very interesting because they were well accomplished soldiers, and great warriors, great soldiers, who have this code of honor that neither was willing to subjugate the other or refused to be subjugated to because they didn't have to battle anymore. When you're an old man, you have your castle. I believe it in one of the instances you watch the movie. He's already a more than a general. He's like not an ambassador, but he has family, he has like kids, and I think he almost has grandchildren. He's old and crippled, and yet he still has to fight this guy with pistols at the end of it. It escalates from sabers, then to fencing swords, then again with sabers, then sabers on horseback, and then pistols at the very end. They're doing a pistol duel, which was very interesting. Fantastic movie if you're into those things, historical pieces as well as Ridley Scott. Highly recommend it, The Duelist. And that's what this is about here. Brandon Moreno and Davison Figueiredo are involved in this mortal coil, this battle of honor between two warriors. And yes, I guess I could take it. Yes, okay, all right, we'll take it one more time. But it's one of those things that we don't, you don't know who would win each time. It's going to be in Brazil. Brandon Moreno is they're both very busy. Brandon Moreno is doing the whole celebrity thing. Davison Figueiredo is like building a gym. He's on his own juice. He's feeling good too, right? He's very famous now in Brazil as well. He's a chef. He does hair. Very, strong personality. It's always back and forth with these two. It's a tough one to figure out here. I want to lean with Brandon Moreno just because he's so tough and he has the jiu-jitsu advantage. But this is in Brazil. And the other thing I don't like about Moreno is that I know he was with James Krause. So how's the James Krause thing going to affect him? He could go back to Tijuana or go to any gym that he wants to at this point. He go to TriStar. I think he should go to TriStar or go to someplace like even AKA, and get with the Russians over there, start wrestling more again, work on his wrestling, go to AKA, gain some stability, work with the Russians, get your wrestling even better, and just take this to the ground against Figueiredo and keep it there. Just don't battle on the feet. Make this a grappling match where I think he has the advantage. And, he subbed him one time, but he also outstruck him in that particular bout to get that submission. He really weakened Vincent Figueiredo on the feet to get there. But I'm going to lean with Brandon Moreno, but it's another one that should be a toss-up. I believe it's at an even money line, and I think it's good to go with either fighter right now. I don't think the line's going to change very much, but if you get a favorable line, if you feel a certain way on either fighter, if either fighter gets into that plus money range, you go with them if you feel a certain way about them. But I think Moreno has an upset of the Brazilian in this instance, but we'll see. It all depends where Brandon Moreno's mindset is, as well as Davison Figueiredo's. Brandon has the more to lose in terms of the mindset because Brandon Moreno is like a UFC darling. The UFC uses him for marketing and promotions. He's so busy in Mexico doing a lot of promotions, doing TV shows, and then he has this James Krause bullshit that's going on. Where is he training? Who is he training with? I don't know. Maybe you guys could give me insight on this on Instagram, but I will say that Moreno has the better fight IQ, and he is younger, right? He's the younger fighter, so he hopefully he has that mind youth where his fight IQ, his size, he's fought him a few times, where he's going to have that the what do they call it when you have that, you have him figured out. Like he knows how to win. He knows how to win this match, and I think he just needs to use his head. He has the code cracked. What's the word for the code crack? Whatever. He has that, and it's Moreno's fight to lose, in my opinion. I think he's the smarter fighter. Davison is definitely just more aggressive. Brandon does take punches, but he can punch from different areas. He's slightly more skilled, has that youth, has the gas tank, just needs a smart fight, and I think he takes this. So give me Brandon Moreno. I might be leaning him on the money line. I'm going to see where that's at. I might bet it now. I would, him being in Brazil, this fight being in Brazil, I think that Brandon's going to be the underdog. After losing the last time out, he's going to be the underdog. I'll take that dog money and as much of the dog money as I could grab on him, and he might be a play for me. We'll see how it goes, guys. Man, how good was Moreno's win against Kai France last time out? That was a masterful performance to knock him out. And Moreno was losing that fight. He was almost outstruck. He got taken down, and Kai France was just really putting it on him. In fact, in that bout, like let's see the control time. Not very much control time. It was pretty close. It was pretty close, guys. But Moreno knocking out Kai France is a big statement. Like he might have got to the next level with that victory. He might have upped Davison and surpassed him in skill. Well, I got no one in the chat, no one to talk to about any of these fights. That's all right. I could talk about this shit. I could talk about this shit. I could just pull up, go back to that Teixeira Hill. Come out. Jamal Hill. Glover. Jamal Hill's the truth, man. That kid's got one punch power. That touch of death, that guy. But against Homer the Glover the Homer, with Glover, this goes into the second round. Glover starts to get those takedowns. We saw what happened with Paul Craig, what he did to Jamal Hill. He didn't tap. But Glover could get this. Glover's heavier than Jamal, has by far better grappling skills, cleaner boxing, but Jamal Hill's that overhand, his power, he is southpaw. He didn't want to deal with Jamal Hill or Anakleev, who were southpaws. He wanted more time to adjust to a southpaw last time, so he fears the southpaw for some reason. Jamal Hill is much younger, like crazy, 11 years younger than him. He was by far more active, just as accurate. Both guys don't have great defense. Both guys have the same amount of absorption, but the grappling, man, all Glover has got to do is get this to the ground and just keep Jamal Hill from being active. Just take him down and rinse and repeat. Do the Russian method. You don't have to submit him, Glover. Just stay on top of him, weigh heavy on him, keep punching him. Put him, take him in the deep waters, take him into the championship rounds, and I think Glover could win in the championship rounds, but Jamal Hill will be always dangerous in the first 3 rounds. He's never been in the championship rounds where Glover's got tons more of championship experience, and Glover's one of those guys that will always dangerous. All 5 rounds, dangerous, and he's faced very, very tough strikers. Look at what he did to that fight with Jiri Prochazka. Even though he lost by submission, that was a good striking match. Like Glover had the takedowns advantage there. He had almost the same amount of strikes as Jiri. Glover's boxing is fucking excellent. People forget that his hands aren't like super stunning, but the dude's boxing is crisp. Knocking out Jan Blachowicz. I mean, submitting Jan Blachowicz after putting it on him a little bit, like. And getting those takedowns. Thiago Santos, close fight, submitted him, after actually outstriking him. Anthony Smith, he destroyed Anthony Smith, right? Destroyed him, outstruck him by a ton. Nikita Krylov outstruck him, but, Glover still managed to sneak out, a submission. He knocked out Ian Couture-Labra, knocked out Carl Robertson, lost to Corey Anderson, a wrestler who Anderson out wrestled him with 7 takedowns, in a decision. Misha Shirkinov, you know, like he knocked Misha Shirkinov off. He lost to Gustafsson by strikes because Alexander Gustafsson, this is like prime Alexander Gustafsson in 2017. He beat Jared Cannonier. He lost to Anthony Johnson by knockout. That was in 2016. The guy has fought like Phil Davis, St. Preux, John Jones, Ryan Bader, Quentin Rampage Jackson, Kyle Kingsbury. You guys remember him? That was a long time ago. Sujuko. You guys remember Sujuko? I mean, Glover has got by far the better fight IQ, the better wrestling, the better technical boxing. But Jamal Hill, guys, Hill is not a joke. Hill's not a fluke. He's got the punch of death. You know, Jamal Hill will knock your ass out. Like all his wins are by knockout. Oh, except for one unanimous decision. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 knockouts. I mean, that knockout of Johnny Walker is a classic. You know, when Johnny Walker did the worm as he's falling down, we laughed at that. He was dancing on the way down. That was like one of my favorite knockouts ever. Jamal Hill will knock you into a realm where you're dancing. You know, knocked out Thiago Santos, man. You know, in round 4, just amazing. Jamal Hill is no joke, man. And Thiago Santos had 6 takedowns on that. So anytime Jamal Hill's on his feet, he's going to have that chance to win. He's like a heavyweight. Like he could knock anyone out at any time. Might take that Glover money, that Glover dog money though. He was at plus 150. You know, I think he probably even opened up worse. It's probably closed a little bit. If you could still get that Glover at plus 150, I think that's where I'm going to lean at. I don't think Glover's chin is done. You know, he's like a heavyweight. He's got a ton of boxing experience. Super good cerebral fighter. Stood in there with Jiri. Jiri, that was an awesome fight. I don't care what anybody says. That was a close fight. Jiri surprised everybody with a submission because Glover finally gasped, but they were beating the shit out of each other. That fight was brutal, and Jamal Hill has never been in a war against someone like Jiri, and as long as that fight went on, right? Like it's that. Hopefully that didn't end his run. I don't think it's over for Glover. Brazilians, like I've always mentioned, very resilient people. Yeah, let's see that fight with Jiri. Look at the control time by Glover. 9, almost 10 minutes of control time, but Jiri controlled him for 5 minutes. That was a war. Like, Jiri he had reversals. Glover had 5 of 17 takedowns. Right, Jiri was controlling them, clinching with them. They each threw 212 strikes for Glover, 245 strikes for Jiri. Just a war. Significant strikes. 111 for Glover, 120 for Jiri. Like, yeah, Jiri had 4 reversals, and Glover had 2. These guys battled it out. That was one of the best fights in years. I think people miss and just overlook how good of a fight that was and how good Glover is at his age against a monster like Jiri Prochazka. Like, Prochazka was always everyone's darling. To win the bout, for Prochazka to win by submission was incredible in round 5. At the very end of the fight with like a half minute left, man, it would have been interesting to have seen what the scorecards were on this. It might have been a draw. Like, if it went to the cards, people would have been upset, and it's a shame that they didn't get their Glover doesn't get the rematch, but it's also great now that he gets an opportunity to fight for the championship again. If I were Glover and I win this match, I retire. I take Jamal Hill, I win the title again, and I put down the gloves. I walk away in the sunset as a champion, and it could be I hope it's a storybook finish for Glover. And I know when I say this, I usually lose my bets. But if Glover's a smart man, he wins this fight. He does whatever he does. He wrestles, grapple, grapple. Even though he's a boxer. You know, he's a black belt, but he's really a boxer. People forget that Glover's main base, Glover was one of the early boxers from the UFC, along with what's his name? Glover's boxing is good, but Jamal Hill's touch of death boxing is that left is wicked. You know, there's you can't deny that the guy has one touch power. Let me go get another beer. Yeah, so I'm on Glover because I'm getting that dog money. I'm getting the dog money on Glover, and Glover has the jiu-jitsu and wrestling upside, and that's Jamal Hill's Achilles heel. He could get up. He has good takedown defense, and he could get up, but Glover's going to be just as big as him. Now we're going to see the size. Glover's a big guy. Glover's a big man. He's a heavy man. He's big. A nice soft cigar. Nice, mild, still full bodied, lots of smoke. That toasted nut character. Yeah, we're going to keep it at that 825, I think. Let's see if it changes here in the middle. Real toasty, not a lot of oil, and I want the oil, I want that butterscotch, I want the hazelnut, and I want the sweetness. I'm surprised the pepperiness is at least gone, so you know that's where I put it at. Still not a bad smoke for $7. Really, really good smoke. Not bad. So yeah, give me Glover as a dog here. I'll take that dog money on the previous champ, especially how he did against Jiri Prochazka. Even if he lost, guys, he fought his ass off as an old man. If he could put a performance in like that again, it'd be great. And if he loses, he should hang it up as well. There's no, you know, he finally's got that money. He's been training other people. He's a great coach, a good leader. A fighter's fighter. Win or lose, he should hang it up. There's no need, like some of these guys, I know they need the money and that's what their life is, but at a certain point, you guys become generals, right? Like you start, you know, you're a warrior, you move up in your rank, you've already attained the title one time. Yes, they need the money big time, but it's got, Glover's at the end. You know, Hill can definitely knock him out. Hill is somebody that can homer, you know, de-homer the homer, can knock Homer out, knock Glover out. Glover is like the Homer Simpson. Dude can take it, but he's older, and Hill, you know, that war with Jiri, that was a war. Like, that had to add years to Glover's life. Being in there with Jiri and taking those punches from Jiri Prochazka, guy fucking hits trees and fucking, you know, like He's the real Liver King. He's no phony Liver King with steroids and fucking fake abs and bullshit like that. Jupiter Tosca is the real Liver King. That motherfucker runs in the mountains. You know, Jerry does the Arctic naked swims, runs up mountains. Excellent. Actually, really nice. This cigar, all it's missing is the oils. Once the oils begin to, or the cigars, all the flavors begin to marry, like better aging, better fermentation, and the oils get to like marry themselves, this has the potential of being a very, very nice smoke. Like it's a great mild cigar. And for you guys, if you don't want a traditional Habano or something that is more richer in its characteristics, this is a cigar for you. If you're looking for a light cigar that is unoffensive, that's not peppery, that a good beginner cigar, right? That's not super complex, but it is complex. The blend is very complex, I believe. My burn hasn't been particularly even. I don't know what that is, if whether I lit it wrong or I just haven't been smoking it as well. It's not bad though. But give me Glover. I might bet on it. We'll see. If I get a good number on it, I might do it. I might be back. What was the other fight that I wanted to cover? Ooh, I talked about Gilbert Burns, Magny, Brad Tavares, Gregory Rodriguez. Rodriguez is going to be a favorite here. Give me Rodriguez all day. Like, the guy's just a monster. You know, like he didn't even wrestle, and he can, right? Like that loss to Petrosian was very, very close. I don't think Tavares is going to have anything for RoboCop. Like, I just think that Rodriguez could decide to wrestle, but he won't have to. He's one of these Brazilians that might be 50, even though he says he's 30, whatever. Another one that is, just as born to fight, a warrior. Brad Tavares as well. But give me Gregory Rodriguez. I believe he's going to be a big favorite. Yeah, I remember fucking Kutsalade beat Gamrot. That was a big loss for me. I had Gamrot on that one, I believe. Lost against Uzmagulov. Win, Thiago Moses, last win against Giagos. Lost to Alvarez, lost to Makachev. Just hasn't fought a lot. He's a win against Hernandez, win versus Green. They're in Brazil. I gotta favor Thiago Moses here. Like, that he mixes it up, possibly gets a submission, but a very, very good wrestling defense by Kutsalada. Good striking by Kutsalada, but let's see if Thiago Moses can mix it up. I think that he can take this one. This is going to be an interesting, guys. Let's see how all the Brazilians I'm going to do a better analysis of all this. I'm just looking at some of the initial stats now. You know, let me look at some of these Brazilians. I think that there is a good Brazilian parlay here, right? I think there, you know, I'm right away Jessica Andrade. I'm a big Jessica Andrade fan. She is overlooked because she's lost to the best. She's only losing to the best. And I think that Lauren Murphy is an overachiever, hard worker, and just doesn't have everything put together to when she faces somebody as aggressive as Andrade. And I would argue that Andrade is looking to get herself on the map. She needs to keep winning to remain relevant in the title range. She's young enough where she can do that, and I think she deserves another title attempt. Like she could do well against Wiley. Even though she's lost to her before. The woman is always dangerous. You know, they both faced basically everyone in the division. It was only a matter of time before they faced each other, right? But that win against Amanda Lemos, that standing arm triangle, like I think it was one of the first standing arm triangles for women in the UFC against Amanda Lemos. I was on Amanda Lemos in that fight. And we know Amanda Lemos is a monster too, right? Her last victory against Marina Rodriguez, that knockout, round 3 was no joke. Like submitted Michelle Watterson, like against the champ. So, man, just that Andrade did that to Lemos. I think she's gonna run through Murphy. That might be my main bet, but I think Andrade is already like over a minus 200. I don't have the phone here. I don't have the write-ups there, but I look for her to be one of my parlay pieces here, even though it's a women's fight. I'm on Jessica Andrade. I think that there's a Brazilian parlay to be had here, like with Gregory Rodriguez, Jessica Andrade, and someone else here. And look at the other Bonfim is fighting Lizez. Interesting. These Bonfim brothers are no joke. You know, one of them is fighting, you know, someone else that we were very, very high on. In Terrence McKinney. Like he was dominating that first round. He was all over Drew Dober. He was fucking destroying Drew Dober. Like Terrence McKinney was outstriking until he wasn't any longer. He gassed out. He was destroying Drew Dober, and look at how strong Drew Dober is right now. Man, those Bonfim brothers are in a lot of trouble. But I don't see any of the Bonfim, those fights. I don't see Bonfim, Terrence McKinney going the distance, and I don't see the other Bonfim brother going the distance as well. Lizez isn't necessarily a finisher, but I think he's a better striker. I think that Ishmael is in a tougher fight against Terrence McKinney. T-Rex is a monster. He's no joke. Another person I think is T-Rex. No, he's out of Seattle, so hopefully he isn't with. I'm thinking of the other African American, the other fighter out of Guam that's with Kraus. What's going to happen with all the Kraus fighters? You know, is Marcus Rodriguez in this? Marquez Rodriguez in this fight? What are going to happen to his fighters? How are his fighters responding to all this controversy, to these law things that are going on? Have they abandoned Kraus? Are they still working with Kraus? They're still allowed to work with him, right? How is Kraus responding to all of this, right? Like, Krause could undermine or bypass, say, okay, I'll close up my gym, but guess what? I'm going to work for someone else, and I'm going to be in someone else's gym and still work, right? Possibly. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with that. You guys probably would know better than I do because you guys follow Instagram and know all those things. And if I were Krause, I would still continue business as usual until there's definitive proof that I've done something wrong. I'm going to be continuing doing what I need to do for the people that I've been helping. And I might close my gym, but I'm still going to work with my fighters and get paid, whether under the table or however it is, or even volunteer. I'm going to volunteer. You could put it like that because you could get a gift, right? You know, just like in the Shawshank Redemption, you know, like this person gave me a $10,000 gift. Completely legal, right? Like he could be in their corner saying, I'm not charging these guys. I'm not taking any money from them. I'm not going to be in the corner, but I'm still going to train these guys with under another gym, and I'm going to share my commission, right? If Krause is smart, that's what he does. And if the fighters are smart, they don't abandon Krause, because Krause is a good coach, and Krause is yet to be convicted of anything, right? He's yet to be proven guilty of anything, of any wrongdoing. And as far as his coaching, what has he done wrong coaching? Onama, that's what I was thinking. Onama is another fighter like in the you know, what's going to happen to Onama now, you know, with Krause. But Terrence McKinney, I think, I don't know which gym out of Seattle. He's a Seattle guy. I don't know who he trains with. Hopefully Terrence McKinney like went to, you know, he's a good grappler. A lot of, you know what's interesting, and I think it's because a lot of these people don't go to AKA a lot because maybe they're afraid of being exposed, and that there's so many of these Russians that they would have to expose themselves to, that they're not willing to go there. But AKA should be and could be the best gym in the country, if not the world right now. Having Makhachev there, having that connection to Khabib, having, you know, for lack of a better, having the great wrestling base that it has. And this guy as a coach is a great striking coach, previous kickboxing champion. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to manage people. Good statistician. I think McKinney would benefit from going to a stable gym. And even Brandon Moreno. Brandon Moreno should go to AKA. He's perfect for AKA. It's in California. You know, it's close enough, Northern Cal. He's there with some wrestlers. You know, would get great training partners there. Same with McKinney. On this card, both those guys should be working on their wrestling. Go to AKA. Shit, if I could say the same thing for fucking Jessica Andrade. You know? I think like Gilbert Burns, Neil Magny. I would say Gilbert Burns should have been fucking going to instead of with Henry Hooft working on his hands, he should have been working on his wrestling at AKA. Right? Like a lot of these jiu-jitsu guys need to work on their wrestling. Right? Like we've noticed it, we've seen it. Whoever gets on top position, who's a better MMA grappler, tends to win. And the best way to get that top position, rather than sweeping and getting those reversals, is getting that takedown. And there's no better place to learn your wrestling than with the Russians over there at AKA, right? So I'm hoping Jocelyn Nunez is at plus money. Like, that little woman just goes, right? It's tough for her to finish people because she's an atom weight. She's so small. But she's like a mini Jessica Andrade. She has that finishing power. If she were fighting women her own size, she would finish all of them. If there was an atom division, she might be the champ. Right? There might be some other women that could contend for that, like the little, what's her name? Torres, Tisha Torres. But then again, Wiley could be an atom weight, maybe, and so could Joanna. Angela Hill could go there. Like, these are all women that could actually drop down. They've been forced to go up and contend with the likes of Valentina Shevchenko, because and Wiley, because of the way it's structured, they don't have that real, like, Jocelyn Nunez, I believe, is that little teeny ball lady, but she's a beast. That might be my third piece. So I have 2 women and then 1 male. Or maybe I build a little parlay with Jocelyn Nunez, Terrence McKinney, even though he's against Ishmael Bonfim, who's no joke. Jalton Almeida, there's no money there. Lizez, I think Lizez is going to get submitted by Bonfim. He's a good striker. Rodriguez, Andrade, and McKinney, it might be my parlay there. And then maybe Neil Magny. Or Glover. We'll see how it all works out. Look forward towards maybe some other content here that I might put out. Well, I have no fans. I've had no response, no comments to read. But that's okay. We still do this, guys. I'm going to go till I finish this beer here. Beer here! I know the girl probably messaged me that I need to be ready to go watch her bowl, support my girl, cheer for her, clap, watch some bowling. But yeah. Not a bad smoke. Not a bad smoke. It's getting better. A lot of potential here. Perfect with this stout. This would be nice with even a crisp wine, like a really soft little wine, a white wine, a nice Chardonnay. Like, you could go either way with this cigar. I like that about it. Like, it balances itself out and can complement whatever libation you have. You know, complement a wine and or like something like this stout or this whiskey based stout or rye. That's what we're having today, guys. Notice I didn't drink as many of them. You can't rush this shit. This stuff in the rye barrel is no joke. And it still packs a punch at 13% alcohol. They ain't fucking around. They're not. Lagunitas is not messing around. I have to go get some more of this. Sit on this beer or two. Get some of the Goose Island stuff maybe for the next review. Another stout. Go and get this stuff for the holidays, guys. You'll enjoy it. The Lagunita Willettized limited edition for 2022. This is very affordable. A 4-pack's only $15. Like, you can't beat that. Like, that's for, you know, limited edition, unique type of beer. Especially if you like stouts and you like rye and or whiskey, it's a beer for you. I'm definitely more of an ale guy. I used to be a stout guy. I used to love stouts and porters. As you can tell, I'm more of an ale person now. But if you have an inclination, if you like the stouts, this is a beer for you. Definitely get this beer. Mm, much better. That hazelnut character is coming out better now. It could be the beer, but the oils are getting better towards the finish here. A little heavier of that I'm sorry, the hazelnut characteristics. Not super sweet, but sweet enough. Nice, very smooth, slight buttery texture. I wish it were butterier, but for what it is and the price point, because the Dunhill, which is one of my favorites, and or the Ashton, or the other Macanudos, or vintage Macanudo, or vintage Dunhill, a more premium Connecticut, for the half the price. It's a great value of a cigar. It's about a lot less than, like, to get the comparable Connecticut that I would want. I would be paying around 50% more. You're looking at more of the $12 to $13 range, almost 100% more, like double the price. It isn't as well rounded or well balanced as those cigars. It isn't burning as well as them, but the flavors are there. It's starting to get better, and I think that this cigar has a lot of potential. I'm going to start to do that. I'm going to start to get back, but there isn't a market for it. But I'm going to beat the market again, because cigars are going to come back into fashion. The world is not going to shit. The country is not faltering. People are always going to want vintage, special, great cigars. You look at the weed market. With the weed market, there's premium. You pay different price for weed. You pay different price for cigars. You pay different price for beer, right? I'm going to get back into aging my cigars and having like a little stash where I pay $7 for this, and guess what? In 2 years, I sit on a bunch of these, and if I give them or I sell them, which I don't necessarily have to do, but if I sell them, I would sell them for $30, right? So I pay $7 and I sell it for 30. Like, I used to do this as a business. I would age my own cigars and offer my own vintage line of smokes. I had a clientele that accepted it, that would buy it, and it was because they knew who I was, know who I am, know that they could stand by my product. They knew they were getting a markup, but they couldn't get what I had. Like, they could get the same brand now, right? They go to Binny's and get the same cigar, but it's not aged already, and it wasn't sat on, and I put it in a proper location, in a proper environment, and I was the one that aged it. And you could do this yourself with alcohol and or cigars. You could change. There's no reason why you can't buy a cheap or decent bottle of tequila, put that in a rye barrel, or not necessarily a rye barrel, but some kind of an oak barrel, or or a small wine barrel. You could buy. Maybe this is what I might do, like buy a certain wine barrel, chop it down, make it into a smaller barrel, where I could fit like just enough booze in there or beer in there, and sit up, cap it up, leave it in there for a few months, and see what turns out, right? And you could have this for your friends, you could have it for yourself, or you could sell it. I like that. I do have the space for it. I should be doing it more often. I just have a lot that I want to do, that I still want to try to do with this hobby and the other hobbies that I have, with the other collections that I have. Guys, going back to what I said yesterday and earlier today, I guess my two main points are the things of the years is to invest in yourself, right, as a person. Do what you have to do to improve yourself and your work situation, whether if it's just for monetary reasons and or happiness. If you get a better job that you're more qualified for or that you like better. Like, I have a friend that was a computer programmer, and he turned, at my age, which is an inspiration, he went into veterinary science, and now he wanted to be a vet. And now he's a vet. He got his veterinary license at my age, 52 years old, got his veterinary license, left his, or he can still do programming, but left his programming job to work at a animal hospital because that was more fulfilling, and he makes maybe the same or similar money, maybe a little less, and it made him happy. And he also the process of learning and improving yourself. I don't do that enough. What's up, Real News? Yeah, everything's well, buddy. He inspires me because it's not too late to improve and alter your life and direct your life into something that makes you happier. Whether it's, if you want to look better, go on ahead, look better. Go on ahead, weight lift, make those changes to make yourself look better. If that's your goal, go on ahead, man. It's not too late, right? Like, I'm inspired by that, but I already had older things that I was good at that I just need to get better at, right? Or just reintroduce my life into that. Like the cigars, right? Like, I was a great cigar salesman. Didn't make cigars, but I would age them, sit on them, find the good ones, and resell those for a profit. I didn't make a living off of it. I actually did, or added living, but it was nice as both a hobby and as a consumer having those. I want to work on my bowling game, as always. Not going to be able to work on it today. Just supporting my girlfriend, but that's all right. Yeah. Thank you, Real News. People were to comment. I can't send you the coin, you're in Canada. But those Canadian dollars, those Canadian silver coins, are fantastic coins to keep. They're beautiful. Even the queen on them, the Canadian maple leaf coins I think are the best minted coins in the world. That's my opinion. I'm not a professional on coins at all. I haven't done enough research on them. I love the detailing on the coins. I love the Canadian maple leaf, of course. The silver is fantastic. They're a good, maybe you don't get what you initially purchased as an investment, but they're a nice collectible. You have a few of those in there, and as I mentioned before, Real News, if you went through it, you give that I come to you, for example, Real News, I visit you someplace, I give you a coin on as a gift, you're going to like it. You know what I mean? Like, you give that as a tip to somebody, people enjoy it. It's a beautiful coin, and it's valuable. The coins still retain that silver value no matter what. It's going to be close to what you paid for it. Maybe you only get $15 or $20 for the $30 coin you bought, or $25. But that's not bad, right? That's like, again, we're going back to, like, the whole point was what are you doing with your gambling winnings? Like, a lot of times we're just flipping those winnings back. We're putting that back into our bank. We're getting to X amount of dollars where we have that in our bank. And I figured that out yesterday, where I said to people that I was down $2,000, but I'm really not, because I banked a couple grand in coins and in watches, right? I still lost that $2,000, because that $2,000 was gone. I know that I lost that $2,000, right? But I banked some of my winnings, right? So I might have broken even for the year, or close to it, right? but I still have something to show for it. I still have something that I retained from my winnings. And so that's what I do now. And I'll mention this again. And I, because I opened up, like, if you get good winnings, you win $1,000, Real News, or something. You guys, again, if you win $1,000, put that $1,000 in an IRA. Put it in an IRA. Put it into stock. Put it into something. Put it into something you can't touch and you don't want to touch. Right? Put it in an IRA. I bought also coins. Right? A little stack. Yeah. You know, Real News, the content, you're smart. Content's important. And it's going to make, if it makes you're somebody that wants to be happy and the content makes you happy. I love doing the old content that I used to do. Made me happy because it was a creative endeavor, making the graphics, doing the research. I was also gambling better, but the content in itself was rewarding, right? That's why I don't like this live stuff, regardless of how many people I have. It's not as rewarding as the real content creation of making files, making slides, adding the video, and really making something that's more like entertainment orientated was very exciting to me. And I did it on the low key, low tech, and I could improve it. And I could have bought the computer, I could have done it. I've been putting the money into the coins. Like I mentioned, I put money into a secured credit card. Open up, like, you win $1,000, open up a secured credit card, even at high interest. Even at high interest, put the $1,000 secured credit card, even if it's fucking 30% interest, 25% interest. I got my secured credit card at 15% interest through my credit union. I am stoked. I'm thinking of opening up another one, right? Like, I'm wanting to win to keep that money, not to, because I found that I was still flipping that money into gambling. Like, all I did was increase my gambling rate when I had my bank that was over $1,000 or $2,000. I kept on like, oh, now I could bet $200 a bet or $300 a bet. I could bet that $300-$400 on one fight. When I used to start off at $20 or $50 a fight, and then I went up, and now I'm at $100 range. Most of my unit is $100, right? I could afford it, so I'm in that $100 a unit range, which is still a lot. What I'm trying to convey is bank some of your winnings. All you guys are winners. There are times you win, and you win that fucking $1,000 or $500. Take that $500 and put it away. Or if you want to purchase something, go ahead, purchase a watch. Purchase a watch. Even if it's $100, purchase that watch. Purchase coins. Invest in Bitcoin if you want it. Even though Bitcoin went down, invest in something. Reinvest in yourself and into something. Like the computer, buy a computer. Don't reinvest or turn it back into the bank of the gambling, like I did, which is okay. I don't think it's wrong because it's changed my gambling now. Now, I mentioned it in that the last stream. I went from making 40 bets a night to making 10. I'm finally there. It's taken me years to get there, but the reason I got there is because I've upped my ante, right? I'm making $100 bets. I can't afford to make those Hail Mary parlays. I can't afford to, I can't afford to make 20 bets a fight, 30 bets a fight at $100. That's $3,000 a night, right? And I don't want to go back to doing the $10 fights, $10 bets, or 1,000, 40 bets at $10. I don't want to do that anymore. Invest in the things that you want, and put some of your winnings away. Everybody that bets in gambling, everybody that gambles, that follows MMA, especially us in this community, make money. I have no doubt that most all the content creators out there make money. I think they do. It's what they do and how they apply their money again, or save their money, that's more important, right? That they keep a part of it. None of us keep our earnings, or we spend it again. This way, when you open up your IRA, you can't touch the IRA. You don't want to touch it. I have 2 IRAs. Full disclosure, guys, just this year alone on my IRAs, $6,000. I maxed them both out. My 401k, not even 1 year, another $4,000 in 1 year. Save 10 grand. It's just banked, right, in 1 year, right? So, and think of it like you just keep going, doing it, keep building it, right? My watch collection, small increments. I'm going to devalue the watch collection. The $100 watch, $100 watch. I could still sell this watch for $50. Easily could get $50 if I needed to for this watch. I paid $79 for it. I'll still get $50 for this watch used, or trade it with somebody for $50. Somebody's going to give me close to $50 for it, because even this watch fluctuates. Another thing that we've talked about, that I mentioned, or I did mention it to you guys before, that Amazon fluctuates their prices as well as the sellers there. So this same watch has been going up. This same watch is selling now for $130. I paid $79, right? So I could probably maybe get $100 even used for it, right? And it's because Amazon and the sellers see what you're doing. I didn't know this until my girlfriend told me. That sellers can see that you've watched their product, and then can specifically offer you a price on it. They need an income. Right? They need income, and there's like, hey, we just need to move this watch. We just need to move this product. And the way I look at these watches now, my son, I'll leave them for my son, or one of my nephews, my great nephews. Maybe I'd leave them all my watch collection to them. Who knows if this simple Seiko that I paid $79 for, 10 years from now is going to be worth $300. Maybe it's still worth $100, but maybe I get lucky and it's worth $300. I gave my nephew a Seiko watch for his graduation. I paid $300 for. It's unavailable now, and that watch is worth $900. It tripled in value because it's not available. It's not manufactured anymore. And I looked it up, and it's $900. If you try to buy it, that same watch, I was just fortunate to buy the right watch that went up in value. Most of them go down, right? The silver, the coins, they fluctuate. A lot of it is a losing proposition too, but maybe not gold, right? Maybe what if silver in the next month or year increases by 30%, right? Like those coins I have that I spend $1,000 on are going to be worth $1,300, right? So I could sell them if I wanted to. It's just something it's not that I didn't care. I didn't think of saving it all when I was younger. I just wanted to live. I wanted that money. I didn't want mattress money. I didn't want box money. I didn't care. I wanted to travel. I wanted to experience life. I wanted to have good wine. I wanted to live with the money that and spend the money that I had. Now, I like having the coins there. You know, I like having the coins there. They're there. I get to look at them. The watches I get to wear all the time. I wore 3 watches today. I changed it up. You know, I wore 3 different watches today. I went to the barber, came back, you know, with 1 watch, came home, changed my watch, went shopping, had lunch, came here, changed my, you know, had a watch on, then changed the watch up for the stream. Like it. I'm going to go watch my girl bowling a little bit and change the watch again, maybe. Or maybe I keep this one on. We'll see. $79. I love it. I think my girl might be here. Oh yeah, she's here. All right, guys. I'm going to leave you. Stream is done. If you made it this far, you're about better.